Hello everyone. I hope you're doing well. My name's Alan. What I'm going to be discussing in this video is negotiation and how to manage it as part of the English for Professional Purposes. ULAB 3162. So, we will talk about negotiations, about the objectives. We will give an introduction, the process of negotiation, and the rest of the things regarding that, as you can see in the second slide. So, let's talk about the objectives, the reasons why you need to know, let's say, negotiations, different parts of that, how to prepare, how to manage, and how to end negotiations. The first is sometimes you will need to take part in a discussion in which there's disagreement, there's dispute, so you will have to be able to, let's say, manage a good negotiation that ends in, let's say, mutual agreement. Then the other is practice and adapt negotiation skills. As I said, this is part of the course that is called English for Professional Purposes, and this is one ability, one skill that you will need to learn, because later you're going to be working in an organization or in a company in which you may have to, let's say, sit in a discussion, in a negotiation, so you will have to have the required abilities and skills. Well, as the introduction part, we say negotiation is a dialogue between two or more people, or two, let's say, or more parties. It could be between two people or two parties. By two parties, we mean two groups of people. The whole purpose of negotiation is to settle differences, is to settle disagreements, and finally to come up with a decision that both parties agree on. Or let's say sometimes we have, let's say, some sort of negotiations that end in as working to discuss later in different types of negotiation that end in not in, let's say, mutual agreement, but anyway, the whole purpose is to identify the source of disagreement, the source of problems, and try to, let's say, come up with good solution. So as you can see here, we have three different types of negotiations. The first, as you can see, is win-win, which is the best outcome, the best result in any negotiation, and that is the kind of negotiation in which both parties, let's say, come up with agreeable results. The final agreement is, let's say, in favor of both parties or both people. Before I talk about the second part, which is look for independent advantage, I'm going to talk about the third one, which is win-lose, the opposite of the first one. So I said the ideal, let's say, outcome of negotiation can be the first one, which is win-win, that is good for both parties. But sometimes, let's say, it's not possible to reach agreement. It's not possible to, let's say, settle a problem or a dispute. So the result will be win-lose, like win for one of the parties that have, let's say, gained some advantages, and lose for the other one. Later we will talk about it in a bit more details, but you need to know that, win-lose result is not good when, let's say, a long-term, let's say, collaboration of two parties is expected. If you're going to, for example, work with the other party for a long time, like you're anticipating, let's say, a more collaboration and cooperation with another party, it can be an organization, a company, or a team, or anybody, then this win-lose can destroy this long-term relationship. So in this between, we have the second one, as I told you, look for the independent advantage, and that is when the parties try to, let's say, focus on their own advantages, and they do not care that much about, let's say, this mutual benefit of both parties. So the first is the ideal. Sometimes the first is not possible. You cannot help, let's say, settling the problem, so it could be either the second or the third one. Well, as part of the negotiation, we have three different stages, three different steps or stages that you will have to follow. The first is preparation, the second is during, and the last one is the ending. Like, for example, when we talk about how to write an essay, the preparation is almost like the introduction. The during is the body itself, which is the most important part of this negotiation. And finally, we have the ending. Let's talk about each of these stages in more details. So as you can see in the first one, we have preparation. So there are some points that you need to keep in mind. First, we say clarify important questions prior to the negotiation. First of all, before you start the negotiation, you will have to decide about the time and the place of the negotiation. You will have to determine the time, the place, and then announce it. And as the first part of this preparation, you said clarify important questions, you will need to know what exactly the disagreement or this dispute is over. You need to know the exact reason or source of, let's say, the disagreement. You will have to identify that because this is something that you're going to negotiate. The second, let's say, point is know the other party, business, and culture. It is very important to, let's say, collect enough information and to know, let's say, enough about the other party, about the other organization, about the other company, because that will help you with a smooth negotiation. That will help you to be able to identify, let's say, their characteristics, weak points, let's say, strong points, and which finally will help you, let's say, to come up with a good and favorable result of the negotiation. Well, third one is decide about objectives, strategy, and agenda. Well, that is also very important. You will have to know what exactly you're hoping to reach, okay? And it's very important to know how far or how much you are willing to give. By give, normally when we talk about relationships, that could be, let's say, friendship, that could be married life, that could be, let's say, cooperation between two organizations and parties. We say you always have to give and take. You will have to give sometimes. That means you'll have to make some sacrifices. You will have to forget about, for example, something that you're interested in, something that you like because of the other party, and at the same time you will also take something. That means the other party will also have to, let's say, make sacrifices for you. So, this is what we call give and take. So when you decide about the objectives, the strategy, and the agenda, one thing that you need to be careful about is how much are you willing to give? Based on the conclusion, based on the final result that you're going to achieve, okay, you may be able to, for example, sacrifice some things, to make some sacrifices. Well, that depends on the final result, on the objective, okay, and then you will see whether the sacrifices are worth it or not, whether the things that you're going to give are worth it or not. Specify roles and responsibilities within the team. Well, that is also very important. Like, for example, in your own team, you will have to, let's say, appoint some members, and each member must be assigned with some certain responsibilities, and every person must be well aware of the responsibility, the things that they're going to mention, and the things that they're going to discuss or negotiate in the process of this negotiation. Inform people about date, time, and venue. Well, this is something that I mentioned at the beginning. You will have to inform, let's say, both parties about the time, the place of the negotiation, and prepare and rehearse your opening statement. This is also very important. Rehearsal is always important. Whether you're going to have negotiation, discussion, you're going to, let's say, present something, you will have to practice over and over to make sure, let's say, you are confident enough and you can have this negotiation, discussion, or presentation. And something in the, let's say, rehearsal that can help you is to ask someone to listen to you. Whether that could be in person, like face-to-face, or you can record yourself and ask someone to have a review. So they may be able to give you some hints about how to improve, let's say, your presentation.